I'm not some random. I actually was in. Does anybody know what the Yumi Prize is every year? My partner and I were invited to compete this past year, so.
Oh, neat.
I'm just a hey, I cosplay. I'm just in this because I have to drive back to Boston tonight.
Oh.
Where I live. I'm gonna do a lot with more like special effects because I assume you already know how to sew. Teach you a little bit more of the smaller details that people don't know, how to clean up your stuff, and start adding special effects that'll give you the win if you want to compete. First, let's start with some basics. Okay, you all know how to sew. Pattern drafting. Does anybody know here how to? Come on in. When you're drafting a pattern, I'll give you a really big tip. If you want to make really good costumes that are perfectly fit to your body, there are dress forms out there you can buy. They're really expensive, and sometimes they still won't be your body type. The cheaty thing to do is get an old t-shirt you don't care about and a roll of duct tape and a friend, and put the t-shirt on and have your friend roll the duct tape all the way around your body and down your arms. Slice it up the back, slide it off, and then tape it back up, and you have a perfectly done dress form to your body. And it costs $5. Go ahead.
But because we tried to do that this year, and they started, like some of the instructions we were looking at were saying, you have to stuff it so that it saves the shape and everything. Because we were actually going to do the paper tape.
I stuffed duct tape is the best because it lasts longer. It's just once you finish it, I stuffed mine with old grocery bags, and I made sure I stuffed my bra when I did the dress form, because when you get that tension across, you're going to end up squishing some things, which aren't actually there without the duct tape. So once you do finish it, start with a whole bunch of old grocery bags or old fabric remnants. And then I put a steel rod for the arms of mine, and it hangs from my ceiling. So I can just move it around, take it off, whatever.
So it does hold its shape long enough for you to stuff it?
I've had mine for 2 years.
Okay.
Every once in a while, I'll make more for my friends, because I am not your average cosplayer body type. I'm a lover of Krispy Kreme. I played rugby in college. I ain't no skinny man. When you are planning your cosplay, it's best to spend more time planning it than actually sewing it, because I will spend up to a month drafting a costume before I actually make it. Because you have to look at a lot of logistics when you do a costume. Fabric type. Please stay away from broadcloth cotton, or I'll find you and skin you alive. So it's hateful and horrible. Hey, I want to make a formal dress. Start looking at the formal materials, the period in time you want to make the dress from. I recently did Queen Nephilinia from Singular Moon, so I did bridal satin in black. And then comes its own issues when you look at your fabric that you want to use. Look at the tensile strength. How strong is that fabric? What can you actually do with it? So you'd be like, hey, that pattern's really awesome, I like it, but once you try and sew it, it's gonna just shred. And with that, you want to look at the weight of your fabric, because a lot of formal dresses, you need it to be more heavy on you. So a lot of these light satins and costume satins will just flow away and not keep their shape. So a heavy bridal satin like this is good for any formal dress. And then a good tip is to find a very light, coarse fabric to line it in, like lame. No one sees it, but it helps hold its shape and keep it from just being kind of drab and hanging. Outside of the costume satin, you're like, hey, I want to do something nice and flowy. Look at organza or some sheer crepe, but they'll shred faster than most of the inexpensive cottons. So you need to invest in a large amount of fray check. It comes in a bottle, it smells like death, a little better than Sharpies, but it'll save your butt really fast. And if you want to become a serious cosplayer or a serious seamstress, please invest in an overlocker machine. It's a serger. It finishes your seams for you without having to go through the hassle of learning how to do French seaming, which I no longer do because I have a surgery. And if you do want to get into competing with cosplay, sergers are pretty much your best bet for getting a win. Oh no. I have, this year alone, 8 Best in Show trophies. But when you're working with organza, be very careful because your machine's going to eat it up really fast. So no matter what machine you have, look at the needle you use. Change your needle out every time you change fabric. Every time. Because I use about a 14 gauge for satin, and I use about a 16 gauge for organza. The higher the gauge, the smaller the needle. When I do leather, I use industrial. I have an industrial machine, it's about this big. If you want to do larger things, such as ballistics material, it's kind of like a cheaper version of Kevlar. Fortunately, I've used, and it's or want to get into leather work, an industrial machine, they're not expensive because they're dying out these days. You can, I grabbed mine from Bear's Fabric in Louisville when they were closing for $50. I have a friend of mine who got hers for $30 off Craigslist. They'll sew through anything, but be careful because you can't buy parts for it. So you have to basically learn how to fix your own machine. And for those of you that do have machines, start looking things up. Like I have all of my manuals on my machines on PDF forms on my laptop that I keep in my sewing room because I'm constantly having to like reach in and retune my machine for each different project. That thing was a beast because I broke 3 blades on my serger in about 5 hours. But I buy them. If you buy parts for your machine like needles and blades in bulk, a lot cheaper. Also with fabric, look at what foot you're using on your machine. Invest in a roll hem foot, invest in a roll hem foot, invest in a roll hem foot, invest in a roll hem foot. It'll make your life so much easier. A roll hem, does anybody know what a roll hem is? Okay, a roll hem is this magic thing down here. It's all dirty now, so it was in the torch. When you have a lighter like organza flowery fabric, you can't really press it, iron it, and starch it because it's going to melt or burn up. I tried that a few years ago and it was very embarrassing. Like a big hole in your costume. Like, oh, that's great. A roll hem foot will automatically roll your fabric over 2 times and sew over that, giving you a seamless edge, while giving your organza something to drape to. It's amazing. Also, if you're afraid of buttonholes, don't be. I'd rather do 18 buttons in a zipper any day. Get an adjustable buttonhole foot. They're your friend. I hate zippers so bad because even to this day, 20 years after I learned how to sew, I still hate zippers. I will never be able to do a zipper right the same way. And I have friends who have been in World Cosplay competition in Japan that still can't do zippers right the first time. It's just not normal. I have friends who are professional seamstresses that still can't do zippers right the first time. Fact of life. Also a fact of life, I'm not trying to be like crapping on you here, but you're gonna mess up a lot. Everybody is. Don't invest too much in your fabric the first time around because 9 times out of 10, it's gonna be like, what's that? It's a hot mess. Trust me, I have a closet of the hot mess. But once you learn, the only way you're going to learn is just keep doing, and keep doing, and keep doing, and keep don't keep making the same pleated skirt every time. That makes you want to vomit. Be like, hey, I made a pleated skirt last con, let me make kimono this con. Last con, I made the kimono, let me make a formal dress, and then keep building and keep building. And also, your biggest resource is going to be YouTube. YouTube, I will honestly spend like one day a week, I'll sit there in my sewing room with YouTube learning new things. I took about 2 years off of sewing just to tool around in my sewing room to just mess around on YouTube, see what's out there. And a big resource if you want it, it had more of a dubious nature back in the past when we were recruited. I'm part of a group called Cosplay for all master's level of costumes. Who here competes in costumes? Okay, you know the divisions. There's
Novice
the
journey.
youngins that are under the age of 12. There's novices who made 1 or 2 costumes, haven't won anything. There's journeymen who maybe won 1 or 2 awards, have about 6 or 7 performance. There's not like, hey, I'm in a school costume. That's not a competition costume. Competition costumes are larger things. They have about 6 or 7 of those under their belt. And the masters are people that have won up to about 7 Best in Show awards, have around 20 to 30 costumes under their belt, or have won something in the national level. Most of us all are there, and on our website, costume.org, we've listed all of our tutorials, and we are there to help anybody at any time of the day you have any questions about costume.